Hey, this is the national treasure and the real world's champion, Nick Aldis. And when I'm not watching NWA Power like you should all be on FITE TV, you can be listening to the Battleground podcast like I do occasionally.
Welcome back to another episode of the Battleground podcast. Going to bring in my tag team partner, Eli. And, Eli, this Sunday is a big thing going on FITE TV, and we are excited that it is back. NWA is back for the attack live on FITE this Sunday, March 21st at 4 p.m. Eastern. And it just so happens that on the show today, the real world's champion, the national treasure, there he is. Nick Aldis joins us. Nick, what's going on, man?
Thank you, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm happy to talk all things NWA and back for the attack.
Man, we are super excited when that happened. And kind of before we get into it, did your relationship with FITE, because you're a correspondent with him, did that kind of help get NWA on FITE and all this stuff that's going on?
In a word, yes. I was obviously doing some moonlighting with FITE, and I was privy to what a great year they had financially. So Mike Weber, who's the COO at FITE, he and I go way back. We worked together at TNA. He was marketing at TNA for many years, and Mike and I always had a great relationship. We worked together on a lot of stuff, particularly aimed toward the UK market. And it's been very rewarding working with FITE, helping me sort of spread my wings as a broadcaster. And I think just basically, look, long story short, like I said, FITE had a monster year.
Oh yeah,
with all these different sporting events and concerts and really all kinds of live events that were relying on ticket sales. Their best bet was to pivot and to try to do digital pay-per-view, and FITE are the king of digital pay-per-view. They pride themselves on being very, very accessible and very easy to work with, across multiple genres. And I mean, you just look at the year they've had. Their portfolio has expanded into music and comedy and all kinds of different sports, soccer and motocross, motorsports, all sorts of different things. And then it was topped off by this huge pay-per-view with Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, which I was fortunate to participate in a roundtable for. And really, it was just one of those things where there was an offer on the table from another streaming platform, a sports streaming service. Were very interested and made an offer for the NWA content. And I just sort of threw it out there, said, hey, maybe we ought to see if FITE are interested, just based on what a great year they've had. And I know that they were, they really like working with the NWA. I said, well, it was literally a case of, hey, it couldn't hurt,
right.
And sure enough, I helped. So I helped sort of connect Mike and Billy, and they went to the table. And obviously I stepped back. I wasn't privy to all the different ins and outs of the boardroom stuff. But it was next thing you know, Billy turns around a few days later and says, I think we got ourselves a deal with FITE. And that was that. So I'm stoked about it because obviously from a synergy point of view, it helps me, as far as the established relationship and being able to continue to sort of spread my wings. But really more than anything, just because, it's so important when it comes to a broadcast partner that you have someone who really wants you to succeed, and is kind of very acutely aware of your team and kind of what you stand for and your culture and everything like that. And in that respect, Mike Weber's ideal, for us as a partner, because he knows me very well. He's worked with Billy now for a couple of years, since the NWA's been under his control. And man, it's so great to not have to kind of establish the relationship like that. We can just get right to work, and we can, communicate very honestly and openly with each other. And it's just great because we all want the same thing. We all want to make some money, sell some pay-per-views, and now sell some subscriptions to fight for NWA power.
Yeah.
And
this relationship seems like tailor-made for each other, I mean,
yeah. And look, FITE obviously are not strangers to the wrestling business, which doesn't hurt either. But the difference is, this particular deal is sort of new ground for them. It's an unprecedented deal that they've entered into with us as far as sort of exclusivity for content, and beyond just sort of secondary programming. It's a full sort of exclusivity on original programming, and really, for all intents and purposes, a full-on sort of streaming deal. Which I, and again, it was just sort of my gut. It was just a gut feeling I had, that I just felt that they were ready to sort of wade into a deal of that sort of nature. And fortunately, my instinct was right. And yeah, we're thrilled.
And it was one of those things, we knew something was going on, but as NWA fans, we all had to, I guess, hit the panic button when we were scrolling through YouTube, and it's like, oh my God, like where is everything?
I text Billy because he didn't tell me that he was doing that. And
he didn't tell anybody then.
He didn't. I mean, he wasn't sitting there himself taking all the stuff down off YouTube. He instructed our digital to do that. But I texted him and said, "Hey, good rib," doing that without telling anyone, because now I'm just being flooded with emails and texts for everyone from Meltzer to like other wrestlers and fans and everyone in between, like, what's going on? No, and obviously I knew what was going on, but it was like, now I've got to sit here for 3 days, like reading all. I will say it was quite fun reading all the different interpretations of it,
right?
Like all the different conspiracy theories, and
and we didn't know, like we saw, and we started kind of thinking what's happening, like. And, you look at all the blogs like Meltzer, and you hit, Sean Ross Sapp and Wrestling Inc. and all them. And it's like, is this it? Like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, boom, it's right there. NWA is back. The video comes out. It's on FITE. And then you have Power now every week on FITE. Once this is over on Sunday, have they announced, like, what the price might be for the monthly subscription for NWA Power on FITE?
I thought they had, but I guess maybe they haven't. And maybe you're about to get an exclusive and I'll get in trouble, but there you go. It's my understanding that to watch NWA Power, you will have to part with the devastating sum of $4.99 a month.
Oh, man, that's going to hurt my bank account. I can't do it.
It was free on YouTube. What the hell?
I mean, you are reading some of these people's response to this pricing structure. It's like we're asking them for a kidney, oh, well, count me out. I'm not, but you want $4.99 a month for a wrestling show. Okay, well, I'm sorry, sorry, 619, the boss 619 from San Diego, whatever your name, sorry, I guess you'll have to make do with all the free stuff. But yeah, look, it was something that we had sort of discussed internally about putting the show behind a paywall, and at this point in our growth as an organization, it's like we felt like we had done the fans a good service by basically Billy forking out. At this point, he's in for a couple of million.
Right,
to create and help revitalize this brand and show a proof of concept of a show of a show that is completely different to anything else that's being offered, and deliberately so. And we got to a point where we said, hey, we have a strong, loyal and very, very passionate fan base now, and the really cool thing about the NWA fans is that they genuinely want to support the organization.
Mm-hmm.
They understand that there's a, that if they want to see certain guys and they want to see us stay with the NWA, and they want us to be presented in a way that only the NWA can do, then the NWA has to make money. And it's kind of like, that's pretty much the long and short of it. We feel like we've created enough value in the product now that for $4.99 a month, I mean, I feel like it's a bargain at twice the price.
Exactly. Yeah. And you get great content, because that was a thing that we loved about NWA. It brought back studio wrestling. It was fun to watch. You guys could tell you're having fun, and it was legitimate wrestling out there.
Right. And look, I know it seems like a silly thing to say, but the idea of a premium thing, a price for a program is also so that you don't have to sit through commercial breaks.
Exactly. And that's the best part.
Yeah, and it's,
well, if they're the NWA
we paid
commercials,
attention.
we love those.
Yeah,
those are the best.
Commercials.
Yeah, those are
except
awesome.
for the commercials that have taken on a life of their own and developed their own sort of cult following. We will still dabble in sponsors and but that's kind of one of our things. It's like an on our show are going to be a destination viewing. That was always something that we wanted, because nothing kills momentum of an angle or a storyline than a commercial break. 1 minute you're in the middle of this thing and you're having a great time, and the next thing it's like, do you have mesothelioma? Like, we don't want that, right? Like,
no.
So I mean, that the retro commercials and stuff like that, we intend to, it's always been our intention to work with actual sponsors, for those, going forward. But yeah, overall, that we pay attention. One of the things that we did during the downtime was we surveyed our fans quite extensively, did a couple of focus groups and things like that, and the key things that really stood out from the research was fans, they love NWA Power. Like, their big thing was like, please don't mess with that.
Yeah.
The studio show NWA Power is like, that's our thing, that's our jam. And they love the fact that it was shorter than most wrestling programming. It was fast, it was easy to digest, it was fun, it was it moved quickly, and those are all things that we've taken on board. I always want the fans to be left wanting more. When I remember as a kid, when I was watching wrestling and it was at its peak for me, I remember when the show ended, I would be like, that's it. Like, I want more. And now I'm definitely coming back next week. So that's 100% the one of the philosophies that we're trying to implement with the programming. I mean, that was something taught to me from day one from Brian Dixon. He was like, always leave them wanting more. So it's like, and again, look, I try to make a concerted effort not to take cheap shots or even sort of make kind of backhanded remarks towards any other shows or promotions or whatnot. But I think it's safe to say that there's not a lot of programming that's doing that right now.
Yeah.
Simply by virtue of the fact that it's so long.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, that's one of the things that we think is a unique element to our program.
Exactly.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, like, one of the things I miss about the Tuesday Power program was, when I got off work, I mean, I could come home, pop on the couch, watch the episode, and then I'm done with time for dinner. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even have to rush. I mean, it was such a quick, digestible show. But like you said, I mean, like, there's a lot of meat on it though. So, I mean, it set up stories,
right.
It had the commercials. So you got a lot of value out of that hour programming.
Right. We want wrestling to be, we want our show to be, to represent what I think wrestling represents to a lot of people outside of the diehard sort of fanatic sort of bubble of wrestling fans who spend all day online talking about wrestling. Not that there's anything wrong with those guys. We love those guys, but there's the whole world outside of them that are potential customers, right? And I think wrestling represents to a lot of people almost like a guilty pleasure. I think to a lot of people it's kind of like they're not gonna camp out for hours. They're not gonna be waiting to get tickets to WrestleMania. They're not gonna be like going on message boards and arguing about how many stars a match should have been and things like that. But they have real lives. They're doing other things. But they might go, wrestling's my little guilty pleasure. I do like me some wrestling, right? And it's like, and to that end, it's like everyone has those. Everyone has this sort of handful of songs or movies or TV shows or whatever it is where even if you've seen it 100 times or heard it 100 times, like if it's on, like you're gonna crank it. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure, yeah.
And like that's what we want wrestling to represent to people, because I personally believe that there are a lot of people out there, especially in the South, who that's what wrestling was to them. It was kind of like it's like a part of our culture, but but I'm not going to sit here and like obsess over it. And again, if you obsess over the NWA, great, but we don't require that. And we certainly want to get away from this sort of line in the sand, kind of you have to hate this promotion to like our promotion type of marketing. Like that ain't us at all. Right. We're wrestling, right? RASSLIN, right? And we're proud of it.
Something that I know the NWA is proud of, and they're, we kind of want to move, before we move on, we want to address something with the passing of the great Jocephus and Joe Hudson. And we actually had the chance to get him on the show last year. And we also spent some time with him and Billy when they were in the studio with us, when Billy did his show at the Country Music Hall of Fame. What did he mean to the NWA, and what will his legacy be? Well,
he was, he was an integral part of the company, of the brand, particularly in the early days. He wore a lot of hats people were not necessarily aware of. We just touched on it a minute ago, but the retro commercials, most of those were the work of Joseph Hudson.
Yeah. So when we had Billy and he was in there with us filming, and we're like, we didn't know you did video stuff.
Yeah, he just a brilliant creative mind. Very eccentric, just had one of those guys who he was just kind of operating on a different wavelength, but in a good way. He supremely intelligent, well-read, sort of cultured guy, and he found a way to sort of I think the NWA, because of Billy's ability to recognize what he offered beyond his sort of beyond his work as a performer, the NWA provided this sort of vehicle for him to be able to contribute to the industry that he really desperately wanted to contribute to for so long. And I mentioned this, look, it hit us all really hard because his death was completely unexpected. It was it was just a sort of freak occurrence. And it's just so it's just so sad and unfortunate. And we were all just for 2 or 3 days just kind of like, wow, what happened? Like how did that happen? Why is and and I think it's going to be tough. I think when it's really going to hit is when we go back to GPB. Mm-hmm. Because certainly not fans, but certainly fans mostly were unaware of how much he contributed, but those of us who were sort of quite deeply involved, we were very aware of what he contributed to the company. And I think outside of the obvious void on a professional level of just being able to think, oh, Joseph can do that,
Yeah.
Like we can, oh, Joseph can do that. He'll nail that. Like, leave it to him. You won't have to, like, outside of that, it's just that it's his actual presence, you know, and like, it's unbelievably sad. But we will do our best to, you know, honor Joseph and, you know, pay tribute to him with this pay-per-view. I think that's where, you know, the decision came that the entire pay-per-view would be dedicated to him. And it's obviously why the main event is what it is, because truthfully, when we were kicking around names, none of you know, we were treading carefully as to not feel like we were trying to exploit his passing.
Right.
But at the same time, we would say, what about this person? Or what about we call this promotion and ask for this person? You know, there's all these different sort of what ifs, and, you know, none of them really felt right. Like, we just went, isn't it just weird to be doing that? And in the end, it was just kind of like, Joseph would want Stevens to be in the main event. Like, what better way to do, you know, what better way to honor his memory than for Stevens to get a title shot? So here we go.
Yeah, it was, I mean, literally 2 days before we got the news, we were going to reach out to him because we were just curious where the footage ended up, where he was filming us with Billy in the studio. And we thought it might end up on like 10 pounds of gold, but we never saw it. And so we were looking through emails, trying to find his phone number and stuff. And then we got the news. So we were, I mean, just floored. Just, you know, when you're in the process of trying to connect with someone and then you get that, get the news, it was just, it was mind blowing. So,
yeah.
Anyways, well, going back to,
yeah, we'll do our best to honor him, and you know, and I think that we're working. I just shot some on-camera stuff for the kind of extended preview for the match with Stevens, which, you know, I'm sure was very difficult. You know, it was difficult to get through. It was difficult, and it's difficult for. I'm sure it was very difficult for Aron, but I think when it comes together, it'll really be a special piece to kind of set the table for Sunday.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, you know, we'll kind of dive into that match. So Back for the Attack happens this Sunday, live on FITE TV pay-per-view. You know, you do kind of have a difficult challenge. It's not only Stevens as a performer, but also the weight of what's going on there. What do you know, what's your mindset? Like, what do you need to do to overcome like this emotional moment, you know, in order to retain the title?
Well, when you have a guy who's as talented as Stevens is and as experienced as he is, you know, that there's not a lot of psychological advantages to be had there, right? And there's not a lot of there's certainly not an experience advantage. So really, it's just going to come down to gutting it out. And you know, if I said this in today when we were shooting our on-camera stuff for the preview, but you know, when you have a unique set of circumstances like that, that's so personal and so real and so raw, it's like there's nothing you can prepare for that, because it does something different to you, you know, like it did, like, you know, like All In did for Cody with the weight of that, and you know, with the pressure of you know, and the sort of the sentiment of his late father and the, you know, the significance of the title and everything like that. It's the same thing. And you know, sometimes moments like that can just prove to be that little bit of extra gas you need. So time will tell. We'll see on Sunday. But look, as I said in the thing, I don't get ready, I stay ready. You know, it's the only way you can be world champion for this long.
If you stay ready, you don't have to turn a switch on. You're just ready.
It's what happens when you're the national treasure, the current NWA 875-day champion. I mean, you got to always be ready for that. So last time we had you on the show, you were kind of talking about things off the camera, of things that you're in the work. And let's just kind of go through this. You've entered into a partnership with a suit line. You had a book coming out, an old school figure of yourself, which is freaking phenomenal. Let's see. You've launched a supplement company. I mean, you are a super busy guy. Which ones of these excite you the most? And are there any other upcoming projects that you can tell us about?
I'm always working. I mean, I'm always dabbling in different things. Some of them don't really get anywhere, and then some of them I, stick with a little longer, and that's just sort of the way that I harness my ADD, I think. But the supplement line is very much my focus. The supplement company, Legacy Sports Nutrition, LegacySups.com. We had a soft launch at the end of last year, and then more of a traditional launch in here in the new year. And so far so good. We've had some really good e-com sales. We've started now venturing out into different advertising sort of partnerships with different shows, and it's ticking along nicely. And yeah, we've had some interest already from some pretty significant retailers about potentially getting the products on the shelves in some places, which was not something I had anticipated this early on. That was sort of something I had sort of mapped out for maybe a year from now. But man, the fact that there's already some interest there from some retailers is really exciting. The suit line is an interesting one because it's very hands off for me. Like it's Nazir Suits, who make all my suits that you see on the show. He's just been very, very happy with the response in terms of working with me basically as a sort of brand ambassador. And it was really his idea. Ziad Nazir, he was kind of like, hey, I think you could have your own line, where you pick the fabrics and you pick the cuts and the styles and everything like that. And, so they're all, and we'll market them. And, that it's a very cool thing to have, your own suit line. I'm very flattered that people feel, as the kids say, I've got enough drip, you know what I mean? that people want to try to replicate the look. So yeah, man, you go to NazirSuits.com and you can look for the Nick Aldis collection, and you can swag out like the champ.
I'm just waiting for us to be at like a WrestleCon convention or something, and somebody strolls up to your table with your suit and be like, "Hey, can you sign this?" Like that's gonna be like a basketball jersey or something.
It would be so tragic. I would be really. It would break my heart to take a Sharpie and like sign on the fabric. But hey, look, at the end of the day, if they're paying, they'll get it.
Yeah, just give them an 8x10 instead.
I would love to encourage my fans to, especially when once we start opening up again, which I think is going to happen fairly soon. I would love to encourage my fans to identify themselves, as classy, cultured wrestling fans, and to attend wrestling shows dressed nicely, in a shirt and tie and a suit. I think that would be a very, very easy way to distinguish yourself from the rest of the rabble, the rest of the riffraff, as a Nick Aldis fan.
Mark my word, once this interview gets out, you're going to start seeing people at Power in suits now.
That's what's going to happen.
You could even call them Power Suits. How about that?
There you go.
That was not great. Sorry.
It was one of those dad jokes.
Yeah, sorry. I think Power Suits, are those female?
I don't know.
I think it was a thing that was established in the 80s.
Yeah.
Power tie,
yeah.
Power suits, yeah.
All right. Well, we'll get back to the questions. So kind of, piggybacking off of that, what do you think life looks like after wrestling for you? You and like maybe you and Mickey talk about opening a school together, or are you still trying to do more of these non-wrestling ventures?
Well, look, I mean, I consider wrestling one of my entrepreneurial endeavors at this point.
One of your income streams. Yep. Sure.
I think that's the healthiest way to look at the industry, and I think that if you can establish some synergy between them, then more power to you. I think if you look at the example set by guys like The Rock or Conor McGregor, or, people like that, typically their most successful ventures are ones that can sort of correlate with their own image and what they represent. So I've certainly borrowed from that, but look, I get a tremendous amount of satisfaction out of working behind the scenes and helping the company on a business level. Really at this point, as much as I do as a performer. Obviously they're very different feelings, but to me they're equally gratifying, and I'm very blessed in that respect, because there are a lot of performers in our industry who can't get rid of that bug, who want to hold on forever as a performer because nothing else really scratches that itch. I don't see myself as that. I like I said, I get a tremendous amount of enjoyment from working with Billy on the company on an entrepreneurial level, and obviously from my own ventures. I think it's healthier that way, but it also, I don't know. I think that the more I'm diversified, the more I'm able to really commit to wrestling when the time is right, and really channel my passion and love for the business, because it's not being run into the ground. It's not being. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense.
Because you're not letting the business totally consume you and sort of and then wear you down. After a while you can crack like that.
Right.
So for me to be able to spend half my day kind of working on legacy sports nutrition and working on some other things, it means that then, if like when I switch off or when I, like, after I've had dinner and just, put Donovan to bed, if I'm going to sort of, crack open a brewski, maybe partake in a little bit of herbal medicine, and, it's like I can watch some TV. It's like suddenly some ideas will hit me, like, man, that's a great idea for an angle. That's a great idea for a promo. That's a great idea for a match. Like, oh, what'd be awesome? Like if we did this, it's healthier.
Right.
And a lot of our best work gets done in the late hours, kind of when you're not trying to force it, especially creatively. A lot of, I would say more than half of my best kind of contributions on a creative level usually just are a result of sort of texting back and forth with someone. Just a result of sometimes it can be just a kind of a germ of an idea that then, you share it with a few people that you trust and a few people that you can bounce ideas off, that you vibe well with, and suddenly it, blossoms into this, this really good plan. And that I see myself always being involved in the business, but I see it as one of my ventures. Yeah, it's because look, my wife has an expensive lifestyle, and I want to provide my son the best life possible. Private school and any opportunities for him to pursue anything he wants to pursue. So it's like I like making money. I want to make money. I want to be able to contribute to other things. I really want to start doing more philanthropic stuff in the next couple of years. I got to get myself to a position where I can, where that's feasible for me. But I get a great deal of pride. I get a gratification from doing those sorts of things as well. I'm very inspired, and I know I don't talk about this often because I think because of the wrestling business sort of implication of it, but I'm actually a huge fan of Ted Turner. But as an American businessman, as an entrepreneur, and as an icon of American entrepreneurialism. I don't talk about it much because obviously wrestling fans are just so wired to just immediately be like, oh, the WCW guy.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
and it's like,
He had other things other than WCW.
It was WCW was a footnote in his, you know, in his life and his accomplishments and his business portfolio, you know. And but I mean, I take great inspiration from Ted Turner, his contributions to American society, as you know, as a businessman. I mean, you know, his contributions to media, but also now his efforts on an ecological level. I mean, you're talking about a guy who gave $1 billion to the UN. I mean, you know, just this guy who just has this unbelievable kind of zest for doing great things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of what that's sort of what I take inspiration from for the rest of my life. I just want to do great things.
Yeah. Well, even if you kind of look at your boss, and I'd say that jokingly, but Billy, I mean, you know, he's got the Pumpkins, he's got his solo music, he's got a tea shop, he's got art, he's got the NWA. I mean, like, you know, I think the days of that, like, one income stream CEO, like, I think those are gone. You know, I mean, even if you look at The Rock, I mean, he's not just doing acting, he's doing a ton of stuff, you know. So I think, like, that's the modern guy now. I mean, I think you got to have a lot of different avenues for that stuff.
The average millionaire has 7 revenue streams.
7 streams, right? Mm-hmm.
So, you know, so that right there would, even if people are well known for one in particular, there's, you know, usually if you delve deep enough, there's property and there's investments and there's other things like that. So
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And I have some of that too. You know, I don't talk about it much, but I, you know, obviously have a fairly diversified portfolio, and even invested in you know, in a friend's business who's in the wrestling business. I don't talk about it, but that investment has paid off really well, you know, and their business is thriving, and you know, I was happy to be able to help, and it's been great. So, you know, it's yeah, like it, just keeping a lot of pots boiling is kind of my favorite way to approach life and business. So.
Exactly. And of course, this Sunday, you can watch NWA Back for the Attack live on FITE. It starts at 4 p.m. Eastern. You can actually win a code. We've teamed up with FITE to give away a code for you to watch it for free. Over on my social, you just got to find me, Battle on Air. That's where I'm at. You can get that code to enter to win. But something that I stumbled across the other day as I was scrolling through TikTok for I don't know how long. There was a video of Nick Aldis, but he wasn't Nick Aldis. He was Magnus in this video. So the clip was
it's really not that embarrassing. It's not
I promise. The clip was you.
It's not embarrassing for you, we should say.
The other guy it was you, Kurt Angle, and Chris Sabin, and it was on TLC. It was on TLC, and it was like the world's cheapest wrestlers. And for those that don't know, it was a guy that was green, came in for a tryout with Impact Wrestling, and had tape wrapped around his boots because he wouldn't spend 97 cents on his shoelaces. And then they did some other stuff that he did with wrestling and stuff. If you could talk to him right now, I don't know where he's at, but what advice would you give him today, considering the role and position you're currently in?
I would say that the old adage of all publicity is good publicity is complete bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I've never believed in that sentiment, because in wrestling, you know, a lot of the time, fans are going to put you in a box based on the first significant thing you do. That unfortunately, you know, look, I don't know anything about the guy. I always just got the feeling, I've worked enough in TV outside of wrestling to know that oftentimes these things are sort of, you know, played up for the camera. Like I never really got the feeling that he was this, you know, particularly cheap guy. But look, anything you can bounce back from anything. Like you know, you got to be careful when you're young. You're just desperate to get on TV in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
Not thinking about the fact that, well, hey, one day when I'm better at this and I've built some market value for myself and I've built a profile, this stuff lives forever. And look, I'm certainly not immune to that myself. I mean, people can dig up stuff on me and be like, "What's this?" Fortunately, you know, you have to build up enough of a body of work where you can laugh at it and sort of show some humility. But it's tough, you know. You have to. Sometimes the best thing to do is to work on your craft quietly.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the best advice I would give him.
Yeah. Well, before we got on camera, we were kind of joking about a popular
Certain
term that's been thrown out by the wrestling community. I won't say that just because I don't want. We live in the same state, so I don't want you to hunt me down. But in recent weeks, there has been a gentleman by the name of Kenny Omega who has been taking on the moniker of the belt collector, which is not a new gimmick. We've seen that several times in the past. Is there any world where you'd be open to a title versus title match? I mean, you've obviously had a historic match with Cody, so you're used to something to this level and this groundbreaking. Is it something you're open to, or is it right now? Is it just your full focus is the NWA?
Well, my focus is the NWA. Yes. Yeah, I'm open to it. It comes down to one thing: money.
Mooney.
You know, make the price right, brother.
Yeah.
Look, it's just, I don't know.
Have you ever faced him before? Back in the day? I have not.
No. I think that it seems like it's a match that people would pay to see. So how badly are they willing to pay to see it?
And give you that, open that checkbook up.
Right. And who's, you know, you're going to roll the dice, you know.
Yeah.
I think make it happen. Like, you know, business is business at the end of the day. It's, you know, like that's what it comes down to. But my responsibility is to try to build my market value and build the market value of the NWA. That's what I'm under contract to do.
Yeah. I think the appeal obviously is just because of the working relationship with Thunder Rosa and AEW, but you know, you are kind of that old school NWA champ. I mean, I've seen you wrestle in Clarksville, Tennessee. You know, I've seen you wrestle in Chicago, Illinois. I mean, like you're going wherever the challenge is. You were, you know, you're doing the stuff in Hollywood.
Right. You've seen, right. I was going to say, you've seen me defend the title in Ring of Honor and multiple different promotions. And
you've already crossed over that.
And you saw wrestlers from New Japan Pro Wrestling and CMLL and Ring of Honor all appear in the Crockett Cup. So, you know, again, like you said, this ain't nothing new.
No.
Like it's, you know, certain fans like to sort of take credit for the creation of, you know, stuff like everything that's all happened in the last 2 years miraculously. But, you know, look, more power to you, right? Whatever helps you sleep at night.
Yeah. Oh, and it was also, we were pretty excited, I guess, which this is not a huge thing, but Meltzer, they are recognizing the NWA World Championship as a legitimate world title, which we were curious why that wasn't.
Sorry, who is they?
I think that was Meltzer, wasn't it Meltzer? PWI, I think, or was that?
PWI,
I think it was PWI,
or was
PWI,
it Wade Keller?
PWI. I did see the article about that. You know, it's kind of them. Okay, yeah. Like whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, not a huge thing, but still, it's I don't know. It was always a head scratcher when we were like, well, this is arguably the oldest title in North American wrestling. Like, why would
it's the lineal heavyweight championship?
It absolutely is. Yeah.
You know,
why wouldn't that be on the list?
I said this before, but like, I don't have anything against guys who are able to make a living from convincing fans of a genre that they've never actively participated in, that they're expert authorities on it. I find it kind of strange, but I have the endorsement of Harley Race. You know, there's a picture behind me. I don't know if you can see it. There's a
not
picture
many people can say that.
Right
yeah,
here.
That picture popped up on one of my feeds the other day, actually.
This is a. I just received this yesterday. That's a Senate resolution from the state of Georgia declaring October 21st as NWA Day in the state of Georgia.
Jeez.
That was presented to me yesterday by the governor of Georgia, Governor Kemp. and Senator Mullis.
That's
awesome.
There's a over here. I'll pound that. That's a flag and a certificate. That flag was flown by a military jet in my name,
man,
over a stretch of land in Afghanistan in the name of American freedom.
that's
I have a certificate somewhere that needs to go on the wall declaring an NWA Day in the city of Pittsburgh. Also, you know, the you know, fan fiction, fan sites, you know, these sort of these very, very concentrated, minute groups of diehard fanatical fans seem to have this. They seem to have this sort of strange God complex that somehow they represent the entire world, and it's fascinating. But I don't lose any sleep over it. I take pride in meaningful recognition.
Right. Yeah.
Since we're kind of talking about photos, I dug through my Facebook random albums that I found, and I just want to know, when we get back to normal, can we? I know that we could possibly recreate you and somebody else in this photo, but I don't think the other person can be in this photo. But I'm going to share it with you so you can get a good laugh. And here it is. Look at that photo right there. So maybe when we get back to normal, we can try to recreate somewhat of that photo, or just me and you in the photo. I mean,
yeah, I promise I won't. I promise I won't do whatever that pose was I was trying to do there.
Well, and I think Mr. Young, he doesn't have his beard anymore. So
no, because there it is.
There it is. I don't know. I think Joe doesn't care. So I mean, he probably, like, if you showed him that and we were all in the same city, he'd probably do it. I don't know.
Joe would be fine.
Yeah. What's in store for the NWA for 2021? What can we look forward to?
Well, look, our first step is to reestablish NWA power, and to obviously we need people to go ahead and subscribe. If you love NWA power as much as the thousands and thousands and thousands of you, hundreds of thousands of you have told us that you do, we'd greatly appreciate it if you paid $4.99 a month to see it.
Yes.
I will say this: so we have a new head of talent, and basically sort of general manager of sort of wrestling operations. I don't know his official title, but Pat Kenny, known to many as Simon Diamond.
Nice. Simon Diamond.
Pat has stepped in and done a phenomenal job, and I feel very, very good about Pat. The dynamic of Pat, Billy Trask, and myself, in some of the capacities that I operate in, more on a sort of strategic level, more as a sort of consultant, and some of the more trusted veteran voices like Stevens, Trevor Murdoch, Homicide. Like, we're a very open, collaborative sort of organization when it comes to that. There's no agendas. It's build the company, sell tickets, sell pay-per-view, sell subscriptions now. And one of the things that you will see is you're going to see a real good variety of talent, because the NWA is going to operate a bit more like an old school territory. Think of it almost like a digital territory, in the sense that you will have your kind of your main guys, your sort of your regulars, if you like, or your sort of stalwart stars of the NWA, guys synonymous with the NWA brand. But then you're going to see a healthy turnover of different stars, different personalities. You're going to see this, from season to season. So if this season you're going to see a few new faces, don't be surprised if you don't see some of those next season, because you'll see new faces again. It doesn't mean they've left the company. or they've gone after their release, or no. Like
right.
It's a very nice kind of open door kind of situation. The idea being that guys who really want to come in and contribute and step up and like use the NWA to build their market value, totally encourage that. Look what happened to, guys like Starks and, Eddie Kingston. Obviously Eddie was established already prior to coming in for us, but, you're going to see guys who can utilize the platform and help them, in the market. That's great. We're totally cool with that. We like contributing to the overall pro wrestling economy. We don't require you to hate any other promotion to love our show.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't require wrestlers to be like bitter and, burning bridges when they move on and do something else. Like, we don't encourage that. We don't need that. We don't want that. Do right, like do good business. And, there will be opportunities for guys to make money and to be showcased. So I'm excited about that because to me, I feel like that's kind of the way that the wrestling business thrives, when there's, when guys are hungry and they want to sort of step up. And, I'm very, from my point of view, I'm obviously very proud of the fact that I've been champion for so long, and I'm very, I take great pride in what I've been able to do. But eventually somebody will step up and prove themselves worthy of being world champion. I don't know who that person's going to be.
Right.
But they will eventually. Somebody will. And like that, I want that. I don't, I'm saying I don't want to be champion. Of course I want to be champion. But
yeah,
if somebody does that, that means great. Now we have two. Now we have two of us.
Right.
And then hopefully there's 3 and there's 4. And like, because like I said, I want to contribute, to the overall business. And even more so than I already have. This is just the beginning, I think.
And it's gonna be a rocket ship now that looks like things are starting to get back to some normalcy with everybody getting the vaccine and everything, and fans coming back. So we are super excited about this, and especially Sunday when you can watch NWA Back for the Attack live on FITE. It's going down 4:00 Eastern time. And real quick before I let you go, where's the best place people can keep up with you? Where's the best place? Like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook?
Well, I tend to do most of my sort of informational sort of updates on Twitter at Real Nick Aldis. But then Instagram at Nick Aldis. I'm verified on both, so check that out. And then the NWA is very simple. It's at NWA across the board on all of them. But yeah, look, we're super stoked about Back for the Attack. A nice 4 p.m. Eastern start time, so it's a nice sociable hour. Still giving people time to watch. If you want to watch Fastlane, like, you don't have to choose. And it means that our fans in the UK and Ireland and Europe get to watch it at a sociable hour as well, which they are so happy about.
Because y'all just got the new deal with Virgin over there, right?
FITE TV pay-per-views will now be, certain select FITE TV pay-per-views will now be available on Virgin Media, starting with Back to the Attack. And I think that includes AEW shows. So NWA Back to the Attack is the maiden voyage for FITE pay-per-views on Virgin Media. So obviously, again, very flattered that they deemed our pay-per-view the right way to start that off, best foot forward and all that. So look, yeah, it's full steam ahead. I mean, the NWA, the Back to the Attack, the lineup is killer. We've got me and Stevens on top. Thunder Rosa and Camille. It's been a year in the making. #1 contender because Serena's out injured. So the winner of that is #1 contender for the Women's World Championship. Tom Latimer and Pope.
That's going to be
that has potential to steal a show for the TV title. And there's more to come.
That's what we like to hear. Well, Nick, thank you so much for being on the show. Of course, we're super excited for Sunday, and it's going to be a great thing. And of course, Power back on Tuesday. Nick, is there anything you want to tell everybody before we sign off?
Yeah, buy the pay-per-view and subscribe to Power on FITE TV.
Nick, thank you once again for being on the show today with us.
Appreciate it.